And this is a meeting of Wolfeboro Budget Committee, and tonight we're just going to do some finalization of the town budget. And if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Steve, if you could lead us in that.
Can do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Chairman. Okay, Mr. Town Manager, you've handed out some things. You want to go over those before we start?
Yep, a couple items. There was a request from the Budget Committee for a breakdown of the itemization of the purchase and upfitting of a police cruiser. That is in here with some backup information. Additionally, there was a request where the funds came from to authorize the purchase of the recording unit within dispatch. There's an explanation in here as well with the communications budget as of today with encumbrances. Hopefully that satisfies what you're looking for out of that. You also would have received a package of the proposed warrant articles with the tax rate impact associated with it, and the print in easier to read font, I hope. And then the last Excel spreadsheet I'll quickly go over with you. It outlines where we are at the process today. So in the default budget, the default general fund budget would be $15,692,666. The budget committee's budget right now is $15,744,534. There's a difference there of $51,868.
That's different than what we have.
Yep, it is. Captured this at the last minute that the numbers are correct at the bottom, but the 1544 is incorrect.
Okay, so we have 263,143 under the Budget Committee. Increase or decrease, it should be 260,737.
Say that again.
On our sheet, we have a total of 263,143. In your slide, you have 260,237.
No, it should be the 263,143.
Okay.
Correct. There was a last minute find, I think, with the fuel adjustments that were made.
Okay.
So the long and short of this, the difference between the default budget and the proposed budget at this point is 0.882%, 892% based on the sheet you have. So we're pretty close there. The 2021 budget to the 2022 comparison where we are to date. Again, the numbers on your document is correct, where this spreadsheet is off a little bit from when I did the cut and paste. So at the end of the day, the general fund budget is up 5.882%. Water fund is down 6.904%. Electric fund is up 2.427%. Sewer fund is up 7.321%. Pop Whalen is up 2.215% for a total increase when you compare the two budgets of 3.882%. And then what are some of the big drivers in that 2022 budget? Labor costs, $322,984. Health insurance, $241,808. Workers' comp, $10,461. Property and liability insurance, $26,105. New Hampshire retirement system, $139,731. Solid waste tipping fees, $81,931. Debt service, $69,481. And capital outlay, this year is $46,579, and that is 939,800, or 931,080 of your $1.1 million increase.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
Jim, I think another one that could be in here is the outside services contract we have with the engineers who run the wastewater treatment plant. I believe that's up about 80,000 from last year. That's not general fund, that's enterprise fund, but it's still another 80,000 bucks.
Yeah. And these are all general fund
Okay.
exclusive drivers.
Well,
Right, but-
the New Hampshire retirement system is kind of a mix, no?
No.
Is it? Okay,
No,
all
that
right.
should be the standalone, I'll verify that, but that should be the
Okay.
standalone general fund.
Thank you.
So that's kind of what we have for a quick budget overview for you this evening. I know you've got a lot of lines that you want to go through. Got some of the department heads here to hopefully be able to answer any questions you may have. Where would you like to start?
I just got a general question for you, Jim. So if we subtract that 939,080 from the 1,112,693,
173,613.
so that's the only increases that we've made that we have no control over. Everything else we have no control over, or we have control over.
I don't think that's completely accurate. This is the bulk of the drivers. For example, the labor, that's inclusive of the police contract, which the police contract is something that was agreed to. So there's, I think, 64,000 of this 322.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just wondering if we've got, according to this, about $940,000 that we have no control over due
Yeah,
to
pretty
retirement,
much.
insurance, or anything. So I'm just trying to show the difference to the folks between what the budget went up and the amount of money that we have no control over, we're committed to.
Yeah, and Casey's broken out nicely in the top spreadsheet, the 263,143, that is.
That is the number.
the
Okay.
number, based on default in comparison to 2022 proposed.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to emphasize John's point, because as a budget committee member for a number of years, not as long as some of the other folks on the committee, it's frustrating for me to have to work hard to keep the budget in control, and then there are certain drivers that we have no control about. Labor is right up there. The New Hampshire retirement system. As a budget committee member, has anyone in town government or anyone outside, like our representative, asked the question to the state of New Hampshire, I mean, are we on a defined benefit program? Are we a 401k? Are we just gonna, I think Bob's mentioned this before, in the New Hampshire retirement system, our share just keeps increasing. And is anybody going to stand up and say, how do we fix this? Is there a fix? Or do we just roll over and say, it is what it is, and it's a fixed cost, and that's what we're going to get?
I can tell you, nobody, at least from my office, has been in contact with the retirement system regarding this. They do an adjustment every 2 years based on where they see the fund sitting at and where they need to be. I guess the bigger problem that I see with this, they're continually pushing the costs onto the town, and they're not pushing any costs onto the employee at all. That's, in my opinion, probably the greater problem with this system.
I would agree.
So there's, you know, I can get you the history of this, but it started out with minimum amounts from the town, and then, it escalated, and then it dropped some, And then, I believe in 2011 or something like that, there was some significant increases to both the employee and the town. And from that point forward, the town's portion has just continually gone up.
Thanks, Jeff.
And it's the same with the school. It's the school pays a huge chunk as well. So it's not just the town of Wolfeboro, it's all over. It's all the towns, all the municipalities.
John,
Yes, right, Bob.
Steve, I holler at John all the time about this stuff. And he's one of 400 down there, so.
Oh, I know, hey, I know.
The school,
I think collectively, maybe we should have a louder voice.
the school is about 52% of our tax bills. And they're getting socked a lot worse than we are. Let me tell you, they have a lot of issues
They do. And we
that
see
they
it.
need to straighten out with the state, and unfortunately, it's not working out too well for them.
John, do you have a
John, I
question?
have a question. I noticed that you have percentage increases for the top two blocks here. Why don't we have a percentage increase on the budget drivers? Basic numbers sometimes don't tell you anything.
Because I ran out of time. Point blank.
Well, okay,
I will get you the percentages.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else?
I guess the same concept that Steve mentioned applies to the health insurance. Is that, were you in the same box there too?
So, if you recall, last year, I think we observed a 7.9% increase in our health insurance. Health insurance is on a calendar year from January or July 1 through June 30th. So the first part of this 6 months of this year, we're picking up that 7.9% of health insurance increase. The second 6 months, that increase is the 2.3%, which, we observed that because the rates came in attractive this time. All I can say to that one is, again, we're on the hook. We are actively looking at other options for healthcare. We did it 2 years ago. There was no benefit to it at that point. And there's a lot of things that are now showing themselves regarding the consumer-driven plans, which were originally said to be, where it's at, but they're identifying significant problems in other communities that are using the consumer-driven plans. So it's one of those things, try to keep our employees healthy, try to get our employees to take their physicals, keep down those acute type of issues that occur, and hopefully we can observe minimal rate increases, but it's part of it being a pool.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up on the warrant articles before we start? Or?
Yeah, I did. On the warrant articles, Jim, there's just a couple of things off the top of my head. In the wording of a lot of the warrant articles, especially the ones that talk about the water treatment plant upgrades and some other ones where there are ARPA grants and possible state revolving loan forgiveness and that sort of business bundled into them. I would hope, and in looking through them, I think we need to really be sure that all those financial possibilities that would offset the overall cost need to be on the warrant article.
Can't.
Excuse me?
We cannot put in loan forgiveness because it is not a guarantee.
Okay. So it can't even be mentioned. Huh, interesting. That's the rule from the Revenue Administration?
That is the rule from New Hampshire DES.
Yeah, okay, DES.
I do believe it can be said, it just can't be in the actual
Yeah,
words
so
of the
it'll
warrant.
be in the backup presentation.
Okay,
It just can't be on the warrant that
okay,
is voted on.
so, Mike, I guess my question is, does the voting public, will they be made aware of those possibilities?
Well, we're working on the PowerPoint presentation like we give every year.
Okay.
Those spreadsheets like you have here, that show where some of those funding mechanisms come from will be broken out in spreadsheets within that, to show where those funds are accounted for and how they're accounted for.
And the voting public will be able to see them at the deliberative session, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we go through
Okay.
that slideshow at the deliberative session.
If it can't be in the wording of the warrant article, at least it'll get out in front of everybody in some form or fashion.
Correct.
The ones like the ARPA grants where we have the money in hand, those can go in the wording, is that correct?
At this point, they are. I don't know if DRA is gonna allow it to happen or not. We haven't got that far yet.
Okay,
But it was approved by legal counsel.
okay. But if they're not, they'll also be in the PowerPoint presentation so that the public is aware of the fact that, you know, when we start talking about a 1.68 million sewer pump station in Mill Street, there are funds that could reduce that dramatically,
Correct.
and that'll be gone over at the deliberative session.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody all set? Okay, if you want to go to your general government tab, we'll get started, we'll go through these. First one is executive. Keisha, what do you have for a total for executive?
240,989.
Okay, I got a note here that we changed printing.
I didn't reprint because you're not done, so I don't have the budget committee. It's in the system, I can pull it out. But
Okay.
I did not print it.
Okay, just did you show a reduction on line 550 printing?
I need to pull it up, but
Okay.
yes, I do believe that. Hold on. I'm so glad you said that whole report for you.
So, Mr. Chairman, what are you saying that the?
I show in my notes that there's reduction from $6,100 to $3,200.
If you look right where my cursor is pointing, $3,200. There you go.
Okay, great. Okay, we all set in executive. Let's move on to, I think next one's town manager. Any questions on town manager and concerns? Okay, let's move on to town clerk. Anything with town clerk? Okay, let's move on to assessing. Questions on assessing? Tax collector? Excuse me. Let's go back to tax collector. Machinery equipment, Jim, is that at zero? Do you have that at zero?
Sorry, tax collector?
Yeah. It was 855 and I've got it noted down to zero.
What was it?
Line 740, tax collector, machinery equipment, and
Zero.
855, and my note shows zero, changed to zero.
Yep.
Zero.
All set? Okay. Okay, health officer. Any questions of health officer? Okay, welfare. Welfare officer, page 25. on welfare, debt service. And you've got legal expenses. And insurance. Then it shows the cost of the insurance. Let's move on to agency grants. Okay, the only change I show is White House Recovery, $5,000.
That's correct.
Any questions on agency requests? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning. Zoning board, the only change I see is advertising, been dropped down to 2,500. In zoning board. Line 562.
Yep.
Any questions on zoning? Okay, planning board. Change I see is line 380, $4,000.
From 7,500 to 4,000.
Yes. Okay, let's see here. Code enforcement.
What
Actually,
page?
I'm sorry, Brewster Building,
What
Ten.
page?
page 11. Or 10, yeah. None of that money, Jim, in the Brewster Building can be used to upgrade the phone system.
Most of that money is already pretty well accounted for, with contracts for the HVAC system. You know, depending on what happens with oil prices when we go back out to bid in July, depending on what those prices could be, there could be some efficiencies. I don't think so, that budget is, pretty tight.
Okay, thank you. Also the Brewster Building. Code enforcement. Conservation Commission. This is the budget that has the money for the removal of the invasive species, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Any questions on this one?
I just wondered, John,
Yeah.
is that ever gonna end?
I think it was pretty clear the other night that it most likely won't.
We spent 10,000 this last year.
It was explained the other night, that the invasive species problem, is pretty significant in town. They, meaning the Conservation Commission, own a significant amount of properties that they manage. You know, I think this is gonna be one of those costs of doing business going forward, unfortunately.
I would agree. I'm a member of the Wentworth Watershed Association, and we're dealing with the same issue. The issue that I think we all are presented with is you have to be a licensed person to apply any kind of
Herbicide?
herbicide, thank you. And I think that for the foreseeable future, yeah, it's gonna be an ongoing thing until you start to get a level of eradication. We may disagree on how to eradicate it, whether it's by a herbicide, but having seen it done on a couple of occasions and how it's it's not a broad brush approach, it's a very targeted approach. I think it's the wise thing to do, personally. I think there are other methods that we could use. We've talked about that before. Could they incorporate that in? I'd like to see them try, but I think Jim's correct. I think that it's gonna be an ongoing expense. I know as for our association, the properties that are under Wentworth Watershed, they're looking at it as a line item in their budget on an ongoing basis until they start to see some years out where the areas that they've treated, you've eliminated the burning bush and you've eliminated the other thing, the bittersweet. So, it's just my take on it, that's all.
Okay, we all set on Conservation Commission? Move on. Economic Development?
John,
Yes, sir.
on December 9th, I asked you to put a hold on line 380, which was the $6,000 allocation to the Chamber of Commerce. You did, and I would like you to release that hold right now. We had not released it, and I would like that to go in the budget. I don't know if you carried it in the budget, Catherine, but I just want you to, I would like you to release that
Everybody's
hold.
okay with it?
I'm okay with it.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, it was never removed
Okay.
because the motion
So it was
wasn't
a
done,
hold.
but it was
Okay,
on our
okay.
revisit.
I just want to make sure it went in. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Finance and IT. Any questions on finance? Now to technology services. Can you just refresh my mind on the computer software for $9,895? Is that for, what department is that for, do you know, do you remember?
It's for all the users, it's all the, 83 applications, 135 applications, that's the software for Microsoft that we all have.
Okay,
It was previously up in the account 425, so it's not a new thing.
okay, thank you. Okay, any questions on technology services? Okay, let's move on. Go on to the library. Questions on the library, and we'll move on. Police communications. Set on communications. Animal control. Okay, I've got a note here, $2,000. Is that outside services? Is that what we changed? 380.
You skipped one there. You skipped over communications, is why I'm a little lost, but,
I'm sorry, which number was that?
back on page 27, Department 42990.
Is it 1,000 or 2,000? Safety equipment?
You're talking animal control, correct, John?
Yeah, I guess you want me to go back. You think I missed one on communications?
You missed the Department of Communications,
No.
but,
We got it.
okay.
What was the line, John?
I mean, in animal control?
Outside services went from 3,000 to 2,000.
Yeah, okay.
That's correct.
Okay. And on the communications, if we can just go back, I missed a couple of notes here. Let's see. Safety equipment, was that decreased?
$1,000.
Okay. And how about overtime? Does that drop down to 27,000? Line 140?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. can't forget the chief's budget, the police department budget.
Gonna say, yeah.
Wow.
Jump past that one. Which is a little unusual.
I just wanted to see if he was gonna say anything over there.
I can't hear a word you're saying.
Okay,
That's probably a good thing.
Just keep smiling behind that mask.
okay, police department?
I think we made an adjustment to line 430, if my memory serves me correctly.
Okay, let me see.
Vehicle maintenance.
Yes, a decrease of $1,000.
No, 430, increase to
8,000.
6 to 8,000, 6,000 to 8,000.
Are we in the police department?
8,000. Yep.
Yeah,
That's 8,000.
Line 430.
It was increased by 2,000, I believe.
yep, 8,000.
Is that in there?
Nope, we're gonna correct that.
Eighteen.
Okay, anything else in the police? Okay, let's move on to fire and emergency management. First one is the ambulance service. Do you show any change on line 820, professional development?
$20,000 to $16,000.
Okay. Thank you. Jim, do you have any idea when the deputy fire chief position is going to be filled?
We just closed the application window on New Year's Eve at noontime. I think we received 13 applicants, so it's a matter of going through the process and going from there. Chief is here, I'm not sure if he's got any idea of what he would like for schedule. If you'd like to ask him, you're more than welcome to, but.
Well, I'm just wondering if we're not going to hire someone until, say, March or April, if we could cut back that couple $1,000 on that position.
So I'm not sure that we will be able to. That deputy chief's position is one of the positions that's actually quite low on the pay schedule that we have in town.
Okay,
So I would much rather leave it as is.
okay, that's fine.
You know, it all hinges on when that hire takes place. It could be March, it may not be until July.
Okay.
We can get somebody on board.
Maybe we've got the camera people that you can talk a little bit about that new position that's going to go into the budget, when that's going to start, and
So I think the chief can probably speak better to that than what I can, but it's my understanding that the new position would start effective July 1, being able to hire a candidate. Chief?
That's correct. As you may be aware, we had one of our career members leave at the end of the year. His last shift was Saturday, Friday. So we have a current position we have just posted and are advertising for. And our intent is, when that closes, to then go through a process and create a list of eligible candidates. Our intent would be to hold that list through at least July if we're successful with this new hire. Hopefully that list is in effect and we can hire very close to July 1st with that position.
Thank you, Chief.
And this is an initiative that the chief is trying to bring forward one position over the next 3 years to increase his staffing levels to where they should be as the department operates, and try to help to reduce some of his overtime expenses. The overtime will never go away, but it's an help to try and reduce some of it. And the other thing is, you know, he's struggling with manpower, call staff, and very labor-intensive work. So he's put together a good plan.
Thank you, Jim. Emergency management. Okay, public safety building. Page 19, sorry. Okay, let's go into public works. Highways and streets. Public Works Garage. Buildings and grounds.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
one quick question. Mr. Town Manager, does this new budget that we see up here, does that reflect those changes in all the fuel lines? Okay, thanks.
Does.
Appreciate it.
Okay, solid waste disposal. That's it for Public Works. Let's go to Parks and Recreation. Park Administration. Parks Maintenance. beaches. Jim, you want to explain the increase for the part-time wages for the beaches, especially in particular Brewster Beach?
Yeah, so one of the things that Brewster has requested from us going forward is that we have lifeguards on duty. A few years back, we went away from lifeguards, one, because we were having trouble filling the positions, which isn't a surprise. That seems to be a phenomenon happening with all beaches in the region. So we started to go away from that model. However, Brewster really feels strongly that they want to have a presence there. We normally do have lifeguards on duty when there are programs running, if I remember correctly. Yes, Christine?
Yes.
And going forward, we're gonna be having greater presence of lifeguards on Brewster Beach. So that would be the increase.
And the only time that it can be open is when we have lifeguards, is that correct? To the
That's what
public?
they would like.
Okay,
We're working through that now.
okay, good. We also on beaches, Abenaki, hockey rink, programs. Okay, community center. Patriotic purposes. Fireworks. Clock house. Cemeteries. I got a quick question on the part-time wages, Jim. The, looks like historically we've spent between $6,000 and $10,000 over the past couple of years. And actually it's in 5,000, right, almost 6,000 in 2018. And now we're up to 25,183. Did we add some more cemeteries, or what's for the big
Gonna have
increase?
Ask Christine about that, but I believe that has to do with some of the cleaning of the stones, which is reimbursable by the trustees of the cemetery, correct, Christine?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know how many stones the guy averages a year? Any idea?
I don't. He does a report on it. I know that they did finish Pine Hill Cemetery, so that's been completely done.
Oh, excellent.
Yep, so they're making their way around all cemeteries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Libby Museum. Okay, let's slide into the water fund. Administration. Technology Services. Water Distribution. Water treatment plant. I've got a note here for consultants, 311. Then 2018 was 0, 2019 was 446, 2020 was $640. Budget last year you budgeted 3,000, didn't spend any. This year you're asking for 5,000.
I actually think year-to-date actual is 5,000 was spent.
On water treatment plant.
Yeah, line 311 on
Yes.
43,350.
Yes.
I'm showing year-to-date expense, 5,000.
Okay.
Jim, I have a note that says asset management plan consultants.
That would make sense in the continued project of asset management and rate studies.
Yeah, I think that's what we had I made a note because you hadn't given us the figure for what's year to date, so that's good, thank you.
Is that gonna be ongoing every year?
Consultants is a fairly consistent line, so I would say yes.
I'm not saying, I'm not questioning consultants, I'm just questioning the amount, because then when I'm looking at actuals over the past years, I mean, I guess my question is 5,000 gonna be ongoing from here forward?
That's a good question. Dave's not here tonight. I know that this would be an ongoing line to update reports and whatnot. For example, today we just received an updated report on the sewer end of the house for the sewer main, or the sewer treatment plant and the pump stations. And that gives us a lot of the background information to be able to access some of that grant funds that you saw in the warrant articles, the ARPA funds and whatnot. Is 5,000 the level that it's gonna be going on? I can't answer that, but this, I would anticipate that it would be in the thousands.
And you said this is dovetailing with the asset management plan?
So this would be working with asset management plans, updating the asset management plans, and rate studies.
One last question on this. We're not duplicating our efforts with other, like other consultants doing.
No, when they come through with these contracts, they're pretty defined scopes of work.
Okay.
So, no, I mean, where they can tie things together, they absolutely will do that. That was one of the increases that I believe you saw in the sewer treatment operations. Part of that increase was they were gonna take on some of the asset management planning responsibilities, not all of it, but some of it at the plant. So that's why part of that increase was there this year, because they're taking on some of that responsibility for us. But yes, I don't like duplicating work either.
Right.
All set, Steve?
Yep.
Okay. Water treatment plant. All set, okay. Let's move on to your municipal electric fund. Administration. Technology services. Electric administration. Jim, can you give the folks just a little update on the rates, what the rates are looking like this year?
So we were fortunate enough, about 2 years ago, we had budgeted $40,000 in the electric budget, administration budget, to have our consultants and attorneys work with us to do a purchase power agreement. We essentially hit that at the optimal time. 2 weeks ago, Mayhew, our consultant, gave a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. We hit it absolutely perfectly, or Mayhew hit it absolutely perfectly, when to do the purchase power agreement. So we're under a new contract now. That contract is 5 years, and it's basically keeps us at pretty much level funding over the next 5 years. A lot of communities that are doing this now are seeing 30 to 60% increases in their electricity. So kudos to Barry for planning this out, and Mayhew and our attorney for hitting it right at the sweet spot, and we're in really good position over the next 5 years for electricity.
And just so folks understand, Jim, this, even though we're spending money to run these different, especially electric department, we're getting that money back in revenue, so it's really not any effect on the tax rate at all, right?
Yeah, so we're raising and appropriating these funds, but the rate users are the ones who pay for the services that are received. And the electric department model works in such a way that Barry is actually able to put a certain amount of money each year into capital projects without ever having to hit the tax rate. He's been able to do some big projects over the past couple of years, and fortunately, he's been able to leverage the bond rates, which we've seen under 1%, the effective interest rate, over a 10-year time period. So it's really given Barry the opportunity to leverage the funds and make his organization financially on solid ground.
Great, thank you.
John?
Yes, sir.
I was taking a look at our debt service today, and the electric, our debt service as of 12/31/21, we're a little bit under a total of 25 million, all departments. And the electric utility fund, our debt service for them is $6,643,024, and that's out of 25 million, and that's all coming out of our electric rates. Our electric rates cover all that. They will for the rest of this contract ends at the end of 2026. I believe our electric rates are a little under 14 cents per kilowatt hour, and at the state average, the larger utilities in the state are coming in at somewhere around 20 cents per kilowatt hour. So
Oh, that's great.
for a meager amount of 500 kilowatts a month, it's probably a $30 difference. The large users are saving a lot more money.
Right.
This was a job well done.
Yep, it was good, that $40,000 was well spent.
Oh, yeah, you betcha.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, let's go on to distribution. Now to generation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we all set on generation? Okay, let's move on to the sewer fund. Page 1, the sewer fund, administration. Technology services. Sewage collection. Okay, I've got a mark here for administrative cost allocation, I'm not quite sure. I think
This would have been one of the first budgets we would have visited, and the administrative allocations weren't set at that point.
okay. Is it now 40,743? Is that what we're working with, the number, or, okay? Thank you. Okay, wastewater treatment. Did we just renew the contract for those folks for?
We did. I'm not sure how many years it is.
Okay.
I want to say 5, but I'm not 100% sure. But yes, we did renew the contract with them, and they will be doing, spending more time on site, and they will be doing some more work relative to asset management planning.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it on wastewater treatment. Now Park Well revolving fund. Personal administration. Park Well and Ice Arena. That's it on Park Railing. Excuse me, hockey rink. Okay, let's move on to capital outlay. Okay, so we still have the phone service upgrade for some reason I have $4,095 written down, but it's a request for $9,579. We supposed to drop that, or was that my wishes that I wanted was gonna be dropped with it?
I don't have any recollection of changing that amount.
Okay, nothing? Okay. So that one is still active. We're gonna be all set in the current phone budgets for those departments that are gonna get it?
Yeah, we should be, in fact, next year we may actually see some efficiencies, maybe,
Okay.
because a lot of it will go to, what is it, voice over internet protocol or something like that.
Okay. And then the next one was for Ladder One Tools, and after we talked to the town manager, my understanding that you and the fire chief's Audie were able to work some arrangement where we can buy those tools out of this year's budget?
Yeah, without having a fire chief for a period of time, the chief and I sat down towards the latter part of December. We were able to go through the budget, and he was able to purchase them with end-of-year funds, not exceeding his bottom line budget.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Okay, and the upgrades to solid waste, that's not gonna be a warrant article. Okay, how about the truck for the, Parks and Rec, were you able to get that purchased for this year?
We were, I don't have a whole lot of details other than I signed the purchase order for Christine. Christine may be able to elaborate a little bit on it.
We had to order it, so we did put the money down for it, and it has been placed, the order has been placed, so
Great.
we're all set.
I know we've got a couple more here. Help me out, Casey, with the,
The next one that is still in the budget, residential water meter replacement program for $15,000 on the water fund.
And our plan next year is to try and tie that into the operating budget as a ongoing operating expense, as it seemed like it was a wish of this committee.
yeah.
Want me to go on to the next one?
Yes.
The next one is also a water, Middleton Road Booster Station upgrades for $85,000 is still in the budget.
This is marked down as a necessary one. Is there any way we can put this off for another year?
The Middleton Road Booster Pump Station, is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah.
So we've already done a lot of legwork on this. This is, I don't think we can, no. I know Dave's not here. We've already done some of the legwork. That area of town has problems with the water becoming stagnant because it actually takes, if I remember correctly, it's 11 days for the water to rotate from the tower at the high school out of the system, and that goes up to the Middleton Road pump station, and they're trying to get it so that it actually will rotate the water quicker without stagnating it. And as well, going forward, there's a lot of question whether or not that water tower will even be there in the future, at least at that level, because of the amount of water that's not being used.
Is that owned by the town, that tower? It is, I take it?
Yep.
Do we get any income from all those antennas?
We do.
We do, okay.
So the structure will probably stay.
Yeah.
It just won't hold water. It'll hold a reduced volume of water in the future.
Like, in the future, what are we talking, like 10 years, 15 years? That seems like a pretty healthy project to whatever is gonna replace that.
I can't tell you what the time frame is. I know Dave has it on his radar as an item to investigate. You know, and from an emergency management standpoint, I know there was also concern, you know, if there's a failure of that tank, where's it all going?
Right.
Right to the school. So we would like to be able to try and keep something there for the antenna purposes, because it ties in nicely, and we're able to collect revenues from that. But I don't know what's gonna happen in the future.
Okay, thank you.
The next one that's still in the budget is sewer site work upgrades at Hall Road for $24,000.
Yeah, that one should have been removed. The Hall Road.
I have it as quote.
Okay.
Can you subtract that, Casey, if you haven't already, from that total?
I have not. So
Okay.
that's just not-
Building software, is that the next one?
Yep, tax collector billing software for $25,000.
Okay, does anyone on the budget committee have any questions over the budget?
If I could go back to that one line item again, the
Which one?
Conservation Commission. Just for clarification, is that to do more treatment at Front Bay Park and Town's Garden?
I believe it was Front Bay Park and Town Gardens, I believe is what they had in there.
And that's one where they treated, last year, 21. And it says in the budget, the explanation, it looks like they're gonna do it again at those two locations. But at the October meeting, the recommendation from the consultant, I think, Lee Gilman is the consultant that they're using, is that? The recommendation was not to treat in 22 at those two locations. So that, and if the consultant is recommending to hold off for a year, then why are we spending another $10,000 to do it again if it's not necessary?
Well, all I can say is, the Conservation Commission had, a pretty good presentation on it the other night. I cannot actually remember exactly what was said, but they felt it was important that they go forward with the work. And I believe that there was some work that needed to be done at Front Bay Park, and there was a lot more work to be done at Town Gardens, because Town Gardens is one of the places that is being overrun.
Is that being used for growing, are people using that for growing gardens or vegetables?
That's my understanding, yes.
And so, obviously, they're not doing organic, because if you're spraying glyphosate.
They're not spraying.
Well, if you're using glyphosate at all, it's not spraying, it's spot treatment. You cannot be considered organic for at least 3 years without treatment. So I wonder if those people are aware that this is happening and how they feel about it too. So,
That's something that I guess I can reach out to the Conservation Commission and get clarification on for your next meeting.
and I understand there are different ways to do it, and some people like the chemicals, I have experience with goats, I know you all know that. Really successful, we got rid of our bittersweet in 1 year and it hasn't come back with goats. Now, that probably wouldn't happen in all cases. But there are alternatives. My concern though is, if the consultant is recommended to hold off for a year, why are they planning to retreat if it's not necessary? Or is it just to keep the line in the budget so that then they can use the money to treat somewhere else? Because it looks like they want to develop a long-term plan. That's in the write-up too, and that's the recommendation from the consultant, to develop a long-term plan. But it doesn't look like they have that yet,
Jim?
with any details.
It's,
So,
some reason I read in the minutes that someone told me that it wasn't supposed to be done again this year, but he did a revisit of the site and determined that it should be done again this year. I've got faith in your opinion, your ability as a town manager to make sure the money's spent and not spent correctly, so.
Like I said,
If you don't need it, you won't spend it, so.
I can get greater clarification on the exact places that they plan on
okay.
spraying. I can reach out to Lenore and get those minutes and ask her those questions and get
Well,
back to you for that.
And I'm just looking at the October minutes from the Conservation Commission. It says, Lee Gilman recommended holding off a year for additional treatment at Front Bay Park and the town's garden property. Boom.
Jim, we're also very fortunate that we
That's
have the
all.
secretary for the Conservation Commission here. She may have a good
So-
memory of what happened.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I can, I don't know any more detail than that. So,
No, the meeting minutes from October accurately reflect what occurred at that meeting.
mhm.
However, Lee Gilman went to the Goodwin Basin site with the chair and to develop a plan for that site, for the invasive species management. And while he was in town, I think he was also doing something for Dave Ford at one of the Public Works properties that they manage, and he revisited the sites that were treated and determined that there should be a second treatment next year. So it's changed since October. And then in addition to that, Lee Gilman is in fact developing a plan, long-term plan. He had a short-term plan for this year so that it could get in the budget last year. And now he's developing another plan for Goodwin's Basin, Front Bay Park, and.
And I can get all that information that we
Okay.
just brought up.
But the plan hasn't been submitted yet. But
And
it's,
that's not reflected in subsequent minutes. I guess that was separate conversations outside the meeting. Right?
the site visit was outside of the October meeting, yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay, do you have any other questions about the budget from any member of the Budget Committee?
No.
Okay. Any questions from the public or department heads? Everybody's happy? Okay, good, good. How about the Board of Selectmen?
Board of Selectmen, any questions?
You guys all set on the budget the way it exists? I'm sorry.
I said we were too busy talking over here, no.
It's okay with you guys? You can live with it? Okay. Jim, health and safety, everyone can get what they need for the next coming year through this budget?
Yeah, I think that although the number is big, my directive when we put the budget out was to try and keep it at 5%. I know that the Budget Committee wanted 0% in non-discretionary spending. But I think that this, although a big number, gives the department heads all the tools to do the jobs that they need to do for the town, keeps the employees and the citizens safe, and we'll manage it as well as we possibly can, and if there's funds that aren't being used, we will look at ways to get those back to the taxpayer.
Thank you, Jim.
John?
Yes, sir.
I think this budget is a lot better than it looked when we first saw it. And it was driven by a lot of increases in mandatory spending. Really not much we could do about that. The labor mandatory spending increases were voted on by all of us voters at the ballot box in prior years, so that's a mandatory increase that we chose to impose on ourselves. So we can't blame anybody else. This is something, reasonable warrant articles were put in front of us. We recommended them and they were approved. Overall, I think you folks did a good job with this budget. So I'm gonna vote for it and, you know, with some increases, but I think, with what we had to work with the mandatory spending, I think it was a job well done. That's it, John, thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
one comment. I support Mr. Tuffer's comments, and kudos to the town manager, kudos to the department manager. You guys did a great job.
Thank you. It was truly the department heads and Casey bringing a new model, which I know was challenging at times, but we were able to get it on the website early. We were able to see some transparency. We're already about halfway through the presentation for the delivery of the public hearing on the budget. Tomorrow night, we will hold 4 of the bond hearings at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. So if you are interested in that, please watch. And we're hopeful that tomorrow we come up with some close to final numbers for the top Whalen project, which is the bond hearing, which for that will be the following Wednesday. It's been a long process. We're here. Thank you. Casey, anything to add?
Yep, thank you.
And thanks to the department heads for coming in. That's it.
Okay, so, the next thing we have scheduled is the public hearing, and that's gonna be on the 13th at 7 PM at the Great Hall. And, as we've done in previous years, if everyone agrees on the budget committee, we're not gonna make any more changes to this budget unless they're brought up at the public hearing, if it's something from the public. So if you have any changes you wanna make, now is the time to do that, okay? Because once we go to the public hearing, this is the budget we will present, and then if there's some suggestions from the public, wanna make a decrease on that, increase that, and that's when we can make those changes if we want to after the public hearing. And that's also when we address, support, or not supporting the warrant articles. We're gonna meet on the 13th at 6:15 at the Great Hall, the budget committee ourselves, to go over any warrant article business that you folks, the selectmen, may have.
What
Is that-
time was that again?
6:15. Do you think that's gonna give us enough time, Jim? I don't know what you've got planned for warrant articles.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is if you want to read through the full warrant article, you know, it could get to be a little lengthy of an evening. It depends on if you want it abbreviated or if you want it full verbatim.
No, we've always, in previous years, read through the whole warrant article after we do the, you know, the budget and stuff. We'll probably just do the ones that pertain to the budget that have a monetary value, and the other things we won't cover. Okay, does anyone have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
There have been so many copies of the meeting schedule, I'm probably working with one that's not valid. I've got a Tuesday, January 11th on my
Yeah, we're gonna cancel
We're gonna
that.
cancel that one.
cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just made that decision.
Okay.
Just be the 13th, January 13th, 6:15, and then the public hearing for the budget committee will be on at 7 PM on the 13th at the Great Hall, at the Town Hall.
And you want us at 6:15 on that day, right?
Yes, please. Okay, does anyone have any, yeah, we've got some minutes to do. I'm sorry, guys. The minutes, let's see here.
January 11th,
So the 9th, December 9th.
No, I think we're coming back on the 11th.
No, we're canceling the 11th.
Oh, you cancel the
Yeah.
11th?
The 11th is canceled. We'll meet at 6:15,
Okay, thank you.
regular meeting, in case there are any changes to the,
That on the 13th,
yes,
it's 6:15.
6:15.
6:15. The Board of Selectmen are acting on the warrant articles tomorrow, so if there's any changes, we're having a 45-minute, we have a 45-minute window to address those changes. And then the public hearing will start at 7.
Jim, We just have minutes to do, so.
Yep, I'm just curling this up.
Okay, the first set of minutes is December 9th. Any changes anyone wants to make?
You want a motion?
Yes, please.
Motion to accept the minutes, December 9th.
And there's a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, okay, the motion is to accept the minutes of December 9th, 2021. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one is the minutes of the 16th.
Motion to accept.
Just give me a second here. Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, the motion is to approve the minutes of December 16th, 2021. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And next one is the minutes of December 20th, 2021. Any motion concerning those minutes?
Move to accept.
Second? Okay, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, the motion is to approve the minutes of December 20th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone. See ya.